Hello there everyone. I'm still fairly new to animation. I've been at it for a few months now, and especially I've been learning Krita. I actually tried to learn Krita a few times, but the biggest challenge was really trying to adjust to that new GUI, to that new interface, because drawings most of the time I would use Medibind. They kinda have similar UIs, but also very different at the same time. And also Medibind doesn't really have a system for animation. So back then I learned a few of the basic stuff, walk cycle, dot animations, exercises and whatnot, all that good stuff, etc. It's kind of like, you need to hit the animation gym a couple more times. But when it comes to learning animation, when it comes to showing people how to animate, people mostly see that 10% theory, the fun stuff, the facts, but that 90% practice is what really builds the skill. So today you get to witness some of that 90% practice. I haven't animated in some time, so I did end up forgetting a lot of the theory. So I need to relearn those skills. I ain't just doing this for New Year's. My first big animation was Dark Place. It's a scene in Deltarune, and it lasted about 1 minute and had 720 frames, around that amount. I remember celebrating each second I made because it was painstaking, it was excruciating, it took a good couple of months. To be fair, it was probably the case since I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, yeah, I learnt a little bit of theory, but at the same time I was on Mount Stupid, like the Dunning-Kruger effect, so I thought I was hot stuff, but it turns out I was still a noob. Everyone is born as noobs. We all start as noobs. And of course I'm still proud of it, I'm really proud of what I made. But there is a heck of a lot of room for improvement. In fact, that room is so big you could probably clap, and by the time this video was over you'd hear the sound because of the speed of sound. It's a very big room. The point is, the animation didn't have any colour, I didn't really use many fundamentals, and for the poses I mostly just drew from Pinterest refs and then imposed my characters onto them. Well, not my characters, the Deltarune characters, but you get the point. Interestingly actually, Chris was harder to draw than Susie. The head proportions I drew were way off, and of course Ralsei was the easiest to draw. He was pretty simple. Additionally, Krita can take a long time to load animations. The time that it takes for them to load, we could have gotten flying cars by now. So this time I'm going to be trying something different. I'm going to be separating them into individual scene files. So the first scene will be its own file, the second scene will be another, and the whole project will be stored onto a folder rather than a single file. And then afterwards I'll compile them into one. I guess there's a few benefits and drawbacks. The main benefit is that I don't have to wait for the entire thing to load up. That's going to be a very big plus. It also gives me the opportunity to focus solely on a single scene, so I don't have to worry about what happened 20 seconds ago. One of the big drawbacks, however, is that it can feel a little less organized, and you don't really have a scale for how big your animation is, so you don't know if it's long enough, if it will be too short. So you gotta balance out those pros and cons. But I think it's better that way. Another thing I want to try is retiming. So you already have the frames, but it's rearranging the time spacing. So you want to make it more impactful and less linear movement, so it feels more exaggerated. I also want to add some color for this animation as well, and I'm currently trying a new brush, so yeah, I like it. It's a nice brush. Not much else to say on that part. Also with animating, you gotta draw a lot of different poses really quickly. They don't have to be beautiful or anatomically perfect. In fact, animation favors exaggerated poses. And in between that time and now, my pose drawing skills have really improved. Last time as well, for my last animation, I drew the main animatic skeleton, so I drew the main frames in the scene, and then drew the other frames around them. I still like this method, I think it's very efficient, but this time I want to try something different. I want to try drawing each scene as a standalone object. I might revert back to the skeleton animatic method, but at least I can say I did it. I tried something else, tried something new. Drawing the main frames, that takes up most of the creative energy and can also take a lot of time, while the in-betweening is more physical, more like physical drawings. You have to draw the information in between those frames, but it's also very therapeutic, you know. You can do it while listening to videos or talking with friends. It's not really that complex. It's not really that complicated. That's why you might hear like anime studios, they outsource the in-betweening to like other countries while they focus on like the main frames, they focus on the story writing. Everyone in the art space has been really supportive, so I want to give back in any way I can. Sometimes if a friend is streaming, I'll watch it while drawing, sometimes even when I'm doing these in-between frames. Speaking of, I want to do a lot more long form content, you know, videos that are like 20, 30 minutes long, maybe even an hour, where I just talk about or rant about some random topic. I guess the main problem is I don't really have enough to say for that time. Like if you gave me a microphone and said, speak for 30 minutes, it's going to be pretty challenging. I'm actually gathering the random thoughts that come to my mind, like rainwater, and collecting them so I can make a video about on a rainy day. Actually, wouldn't a rainy day be good for this kind of stuff? I guess more like a dry day. Another thing about animation as well is changing the character poses from A to B. That's something that's really challenging and I want to build upon that. So if you know any tutorials, do let me know. But yeah, I guess that's about it. I guess that wraps up the video. Let me know what you think.